Good morning, warriors. Welcome to the U Movement. I am B. This morning, I woke up and I've already had two questions that are kind of similar in nature. One being, what is the path to self-love? How do I do that? So the second being, how do I get through this? and they're both kind of on the same thing. So I want to go back in time and start at kind of the beginning for me, my path to self-love, because those that have been watching my videos know that the person that I used to be was not a very self-loving person. Self-loathing, yes, I had that one mastered. But self-loving, no. And the very concept of it was elusive, something that I would have cracked jokes about, the old version of me, because I had never known what that energy was. So my story starts on the twin flame journey. And so I'm going to talk about that a little bit from my perspective. Whether that aligns with what others are saying in the communities or not is irrelevant to me, because I'm speaking from my personal experiences, and those experiences have greater degree of weight to them than somebody else's experiences. So my journey began before I knew it began. I had crossed paths with my twin from as far back as 2016-ish. I'm not entirely sure, because there was no great magical moment back then. So there's the first thing I want to bring your attention to is, you know, sometimes you may be on a twin flame journey and you don't even know you're on a twin flame journey. And what I mean by that is, in retrospect, I have the foresight to be able to look back and see that during these interactions with this person, certain energetic things were happening. Now, I would have never associated that with them, and they just were triggering in me different things to start happening. And what those different things were in fact, you know, my pre-awakening. And I call it my pre-awakening phase because I was going through an awakening without realizing I was awakening. So awakening gives you the interpretation that you are consciously awakened. Well, before you are consciously awakened, the balls start moving, things start happening, and initiations start occurring. And some of those might be facing life crises in regards to jobs, which fell true for me. Initiations in regards to all of a sudden you're facing health crises. Initiations in the fact that you're starting to notice more and more that the relationship that you're in is toxic. I'm going to add toxic as fuck in my case, because your awakening is coming slowly. Like, imagine it like your third eye is slowly awakening, and you know that pre-awakened phase when you're lying in bed, your eyes are still closed, but you've got a tiny little hint of consciousness and being present in that moment, but you're not fully up and like at it. So yes, there was this pre-awakening phase that was triggering things. Okay, so the twin flame journey, in my opinion, is an energetic catalyst. This person comes in as a catalyst to start pushing you out of the comfort zones that you live in and into this awakening process. And it's difficult. It is not an easy journey. When, I guess, at about the 5th time I had crossed paths with this individual that I only had a business relationship with. It was not a romantic. I was embedded in karmic long-term relationship, and he is embedded in his own relationship. I can't define it, that's on him. So by about the fifth interaction that we had is when I had what is known as soul recognition. And that occurred because in this interaction I handed him something. And in so doing, it literally felt like this just flow of energy went up my arm and into my heart space, and I had an instantaneous heart opening. And this looked up and was like, who are you? Who are you? What is happening to me? Like, oh my God. So it was magical, but confusing and very overwhelming. And then the next day, this started communication between us on a much deeper level than the professional level that we had previously known each other as. And all of a sudden we're sharing stories, and we're realizing, or at least I'm realizing, I'll speak for me, I'm realizing that we are mirroring each other in all these stories in a very bizarre way. And I'm like, what is happening? So we began, communications where before there was none. And the next day, I was doing some art on the floor. And for me, art is a very, very meditative type of project. It's when I am in total alignment with soul. And I hadn't been able to do art in a very long period of time, but I had this creative impulse to just get down and do art. So I have heard of others, particularly Christina Lopes, when she talks about her Kundalini, she talks about how she was meditating. So to me, this was meditating. This is a form of meditation, to be doing artwork. And I was down on the floor doing like some interesting hot techniques with a blow dryer, and it doesn't matter what I was doing, but it was really cool. I was making ocean waves, and all of a sudden I'm just this flow of energy, like very tingly, very erotic, very powerful energy just started flowing through my entire body. And this was highly weird for me because I had mentioned, and I'm just gonna lay it out because that's me. I had previously, and what I now believe is that my root chakra and sacral chakra, upon meeting this individual over and over again, there were certain energetic centers that had become completely dumped out. So it's like each meeting, maybe the first meeting there was like a root chakra activation, the second meeting a sacral chakra activation, working its way up. Again, I didn't have the conscious knowledge of this until this meeting. I had a heart chakra activation and opening, and then the third eye opening. And so in the dumping out of energies in the lower chakras for me, I had like zero sex drive. I was in a toxic marriage, and it was just so to have these feelings, these tingly feelings, felt very strange and out of place and inappropriate in a way, because I was in a dysfunctional marriage that was like dying many times over. Very difficult to escape from, even though I had tried time and time again to extricate myself. I don't know how many times I asked for a separation. was over and over and over again, and they just wouldn't leave. So all of this stuff was happening to me energetically, and this rising of the Kundalini for me was what's called bottom-up experience, where it starts in the root, which is your sex area, and worked its way up and out the top of my head, and I had like about 3 or 4 experiences of this that were just like, oh, like angels were singing, and it was insane. It was insane. And then a few hours later, I am like bawling, crying, and I hadn't cried like that since I was a child. Something had opened and something had shifted, and I am just in the most the deepest grief that you could possibly fathom. And so I began down the pathway because at first I was very flustered and didn't know what was happening to me. And whilst we were having communications for about 3 weeks that were nonstop, and it felt like being seen for the first time, that the conversations were, to me, they elicited so much love. Like, I just felt this outpouring of absolute love for this individual. And it was triggering more and more me to start looking at everything in my life that wasn't in alignment, and the pull into this was like unbelievable, just unbelievable. And so I have a lot of gratitude for this happenstance because it triggered my awakening to go from that pre-awakened kind of sleepy state to like eyes wide open, and it made me begin to go through this process of purging. It is what first started, and I was crying every day. Every single day I was crying and going through these deep releases as inner child stuff is coming up, and trauma is coming up, and memories are coming up, and I'm trying to still balance my life and figure things out at the same time as feeling these like I had met the person that I had waited my entire life to meet. And they quickly did an exit. They exited stage left after about 3 weeks without a word. And that triggered me even more to go into, profound feelings of loss and deep pain, because you meet somebody and you think this is the love story, this is the person I've been waiting for my entire life, this is the person that makes me realize why it never worked with anyone else, why it won't possibly work with my current relationship, why I need to get out of this relationship because this feeling is beyond anything. It at times I question, is this magic? Has somebody put a magic spell on me? What is going on? How am I loving this person that I barely even know, and I don't even know if I like them? Was the thought patterns at the time. And it inspired in me so much dramatic change. First and foremost, to communicate clearly and firmly for the first time with my ex, and say no. Certain things were like, that's a hard no. I want out of this marriage. This marriage is dysfunctional. I can see it very clearly for what it is. I want a divorce. So that's the first time, I really I'd asked for multiple separations, and throughout our 15-year marriage had been in a state of separation, yet living together more times than we were in a marriage, you know. It was like roommates for a very, very long period of time that was, you know, 55% of the time all right, that, you know, tolerable kind of. At least that was the lie and the delusion that I told myself as I was in my giant fat suit, getting sicker and sicker and sicker, because when you live with toxic, you get sick. That's what toxicity does, whether that toxicity is plutonium sitting in your room or plutonium dressed as a human sitting in your room. So my advice, first and foremost, to everybody who you know, is finding themselves on this journey, if you awaken to through a twin flame journey or through any awakening, and that one of the things that you observe is that you have a toxic relationship that you are embedded in, I have one word for you, and that is leave. That's it. So I'll save you all plenty of money by getting in touch with me if you are thinking of contacting me to ask me about you know, I don't know what to do. I'm in a narcissistic relationship or a toxic relationship. Okay, here's your free piece of advice for the day. It's leave. Leave as fast as you can, because it is equivalent, in my opinion, to sitting in the room with plutonium. So that is my absolute advice for you. If you need help on figuring out how to leave, I'm more than willing to offer you some insight in regards to dealing with narcissistic individuals, what you might expect going through a divorce process. I've seen that multiple times, and what you can do and what you shouldn't do, more to the point, in extricating yourself from a narcissistic person. So that will be a longer appointment, but if your question is just what do I do if I've awoken and found myself in a toxic relationship, the answer is leave. And even, you know, friends that contact me, I'm like, leave. Is the day of having to stay enmeshed and married to, because of, you know, old ideals that no longer actually resonate with age of Aquarius thinking. You know, it's kind of, I'm now everything is, you know, is that age of Pisces or is that age of Aquarius? And staying embedded in toxic relationships for the sake of the kids, for the sake of money, for the sake of you know, an easy life is all age of Pisces. We're in a new age now where we appreciate health and wellness in its totality. So environment matters. So you'll hear me refer more and more as this goes on of, is that behavior an age of Pisces behavior, or an age of Pisces thinking, or an age of Aquarius behavior, or an age of Aquarius thinking? So yes, in age of Aquarius, we extricate ourselves out of toxicity, and we stand on our own 2 feet, and we learn what that means and what that involves, which is brings me to kind of where I'm getting to in this discussion, which is looking off into the distance and seeing what self-love is. Because I can guarantee if you're in a toxic relationship and you're staying in a toxic relationship, you are not loving yourself. So loving another person in attempt to get love is age of Pisces. Age of Aquarius is loving self so fucking much that you do not tolerate anything that could put you in harm's way. And if you don't think that a relationship has the capacity to hurt you physically, emotionally, mentally, I'm going to correct that thinking and let you know that it causes real, discernible brain damage. And for that, I will never forgive that person who did that to me in their physical, okay? On a soul level, I can forgive them. On a soul level, I know this was all a concocted reality that was needed for me to step into my own personal power and learn things like boundaries, like self-compassion, like self-love. Okay, so I can see on the higher level why everything was the way that it was, and I can forgive them and I can love them from afar and say, see you in the astrals, and we'll shake hands and I'll say, you did a great job. But in the 3D reality, that is not forgivable. To cause discernible brain damage and steal my mind, my capacity to think. I repeat, I had failed an Alzheimer's test. So I had my brain robbed from me. I had my physical health robbed from me, and I had my safety robbed from me. Those things are not forgivable. So I have given the debt to God, and I forgive it to God and say, you take care of it. I'm not going to carry bitterness, anger, and resentment. I don't want those energies, but I'm going to forever remember, because in the remembering, I keep myself safe. And that is the number one most important thing, is keeping oneself safe. And that means safe on the physical, safe on the emotional, safe on the mental, and safe on the spiritual. And so, oh, I forgive them. No, listen, I don't. I don't forgive them on the 3D. I don't. That's to do so and to let it go, to forgive and forget would be putting me in harm's way. And I'm not going to do that because I love myself too much now. And so that's just a side note, because somebody said to me the other day something about, you really should forgive. And I'm like, no, I really shouldn't do that. I've spent my entire life forgiving people of things and abuses, more to the point, which has only opened the door for them to come and do it again. So don't forget. And don't necessarily forgive. Give it to God and say, God, take this anger, angst, and pain from me, and you can collect the karma. It's not my job to collect anything. I'm not a collection agency. So move myself back onto point here. I really want to hit hard home that the most loving and kind thing that you can do for yourself, if you've never been in an energy of self-love, is to remove yourself from anything that isn't loving. So that's step one, is to create healthy boundaries. And it doesn't matter who it is. I don't care if they're your mother, your father, your cousin, your boyfriend, your husband, your wife. I don't care who it is. If you are in a toxic environment, it is not self-love to stay in that. And so then you go through this process of looking around and you're like, oh crap, that's a lot of people. Now I'm going to be totally on my own and lonely, which comes into the second question that I was talking about today of, yes, you will be lonely. On an awakening path, you will be isolated and alone. And knowing that is for your highest and greatest good, that you've been put in this isolation box, and I talked a little bit about that yesterday, is to create a safe environment where you can start sitting in and practicing all of the things that you need to do to fix you. Because sad but true, and this is not blame for anyone. I hate the notion of this nonsense, and I say it like that because that's what it is, this nonsense that you manifested in these experiences. Okay, let's throw that out, because that's victim shaming, and I don't do that. On a soul level, you can say that we had certain contracts, and if you have karmic relationships which have they're like a stinger attached to them, that have certain lessons that you need to have. On a soul level, you have a soul contract, and so you signed this contract before you came down to this planet, and you said, yes, I'm going to be embedded into a toxic family. And then I'm going to be embedded into multiple karmic relationships, romantic and friends, and potentially job placements. And all of these are going to help me collect data, collect information, like the archetype of the anthropologist. And then I'm going to take all the information that was collected, and I'm going to free myself from this and learn to be my own hero, my own guru, my own person in this, my own hero in my story, and extricate myself out of it. And then at the other end, I'm going to use all of the information I accumulated through living these horrific experiences, as well as all the information I accumulated from freeing myself from all these situations, to then go and stand in mission and help others do the same. So this is what I do on my channel. My sole mission was to be deeply embedded in narcissistic in situations and experience abandonment and experience abuse, experience sexual abuses through the years, experience dysfunctional relationships and highly toxic relationships with individuals. And then I'm going to get into Soul's mission, which is to go onto YouTube and share my stories with other people, so that other people can use the tools, the techniques, and the strategies that I used in the freeing stage. So stage 1, experience; stage 2, freeing; stage 3, implement the knowledge in a way that helps humanity. So that's the 3-step process, as far as I'm concerned, on your soul's contract and your experiences. So wherever you are at on this journey, there is purpose for it. There is nothing that just happens by chance. No, your manifestation didn't go wrong. And, because I used to do all of that, 15, 20 years ago, I had a big, the thing on my wall with Canadian flags. I wanted to return to Canada, and I wanted to, manifest a dude that was like, had all these qualities, and I wanted to, manifest a career as a Reiki master. And I was all, I can even remember, I wanted to manifest a hot body that did yoga. And what ended up happening is the opposite. For a very long period of time, I was not capable of doing yoga, and attempting to do yoga actually hurt myself. So sometimes manifestations don't happen overnight. They don't happen in a year's time. They happen 20 years later, because 20 years later, I got my yoga body, and whoop, I'm hot. Which I also, am in gratitude for this crazy twin flame activation, because it has given me the energies to focus on through learning self-love. All these beautiful things have come my way. I have this hot body. I got this my mind back. In fact, it's not back, it's better than it ever was. I've got self-love for the first time in my life. So that kind of brings me back to where I was going, because 3 years ago I started my channel, and when I started looking out and trying to get information and understand what the heck was happening to me, I read all the articles on twin flame journey and this, that, and the other, and they kept saying things like, the path is the path of self-love. This is your awakening. And, when you get to a place where you love yourself so much, it is when, they'll materially come, they'll come back, so it's like this carrot is dangled in front of you and said, you could have this, which is the most incredible feeling ever. But first, you have to go through this like crazy warriors thing. It reminds me of that thing on TV where they're doing all, I don't even know what that's called, but like the gladiator, the Olympian challenge. You have to learn how to self-love yourself. You have to learn how to be a gladiator, and learn self-compassion, and learn how to transmute trauma, and you have to learn all these things. And so I started the quest 3 years ago, just over 3 years ago. So if you look back 3 years ago, I know there's a video of me that was like all in pink hair on this quest to learn self-love. And it was, funnily enough, I can remember it because Venus was in retrograde then too. It was earlier. It was like February of 2022. And this like, okay, this mission, if I learn to love myself, then he'll come back. I need to have him come back. I don't know how to make that happen. And so I and that's what it is. It's kind of like you go and you get this sample platter of what love could be like or could feel like. If only you did XYZ and you cleared all the stuff that's blocking you. So all the stuff that's blocking you is, any health issues, they're out of alignment, and any self, and when I say health issues, I mean not only on the physical, but the emotional, all the traumas that we carry with us, all our addictions, all our everything. And so I, being me, and I was like, right, I'm gonna get this. So I set off in my very masculine energy of like, I'm gonna clear everything. I'm gonna clear one thing after another. And so I started like clearing all the addictions. I quit smoking, quit drinking, quit pharmaceuticals, quit this, quit that, quit caffeine, quit this. I'm gonna do what I need to do. Because you've made a notice. I'm a little bit determined. Is something that could definitely be a qualifier for me. It's been frustrating along the path because so many times I've felt like, I must be failing at something because, here I've done this and I've done that and I've healed this and I've healed that and I still haven't heard from them. They still haven't come back. And it wasn't until I realized that there's nothing I can do to control the outcome of this, and that the only thing I can focus on is truly me, not me with the hope of obtaining something, but just me in the hope of obtaining me. And that's when the journey, instead of being like an external chasing of something, became an internal journey of truly loving myself. So what were the processes and the steps that I took to start loving myself? First and foremost, as I started to listen to how I talked to myself, and man, was I a bitch. I don't speak to anyone the way that I spoke to myself. I was constantly insulting myself, calling myself a fucking idiot if I spilt milk or something, or you're so foolish. And I went through these energies of sitting in like feeling like a fool. First of all, I was one of the main energies that came up right away was this, I'm such a fool. Like, I can't control this. I gotta be able to, shut this shit down, and you're so stupid. And so as I started noticing more and more through observation, of getting into the observer of how I talk to myself, I was like, okay, that's the first that's got to go. Nobody talks to anybody like that, but I talk to me like that. Like, that's the least loving. It was the most hateful and judgmental and critical types of conversations, So learning self-talk from a gentle, kind, reparenting point of view became my first mission. So with that, I understood, lots of people talk about the power of affirmations. And listen, affirmations are great, and I've used them. I had them all over my wall. I was identifying everywhere that I had a weakness and trying to build that energy up, and I am this and I am that. And what I quickly learned is that my inner child wasn't responding to these intellectualized, I am safe, right? So the inner child doesn't believe that. So anytime I was saying an affirmation, I was getting a negating response of, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. And so I flipped it and started using it through the lens of a reparenting energy, to reparent that inner child that had been told so many incorrect things. So I switched it to you are affirmations, and there are some great you are affirmations available that are like 8-hour long sleep affirmations that I used to listen to, and how I would talk to myself would be through the lens of you are. So I was in, and I made my own affirmations, and I really strongly recommend that you do too, through that lens of, you know, listening to myself say, you know, you are beautiful, you are kind, you are caring, you are. So one tool that you can use is to list out all of your attributes, and you have a lot of them, but until you list them out, you may not recognize them. So, you know, you are intelligent, you are loving, you are empathic, you are kind, you are caring, you know, and that the list can go on and on and on. So sit down and make yourself a list of all the attributes that you have. You know, you are funny, you are a good cook, whatever it is. And then make a recording. You can put that list on your wall if you want as a reminder, and then you make a recording of yourself saying those things. And I strongly, although, you know, if you want me to make a recording for you, that's something that we can discuss, but in my personal opinion, it's much stronger when it's coming from your voice. It's much stronger because when you hear somebody else's accent or somebody else that's unfamiliar, it's not as powerful. But when you record it in your own voice, you are kind, you are loving, you are compassionate, all of those things, and you just listen to that on auto repeat throughout the night, then you're going to have a lot more bang for your buck. And it is literally about reprogramming the mind, that record that somebody programmed in your childhood. You are stupid, you are a fool, you are incapable, whatever it is that was originally programmed into you. We need to reprogram it. And I mentioned in yesterday's video, to every negative you hear or have heard in your life, you need to hear 10 positives to counteract the energetic imprint of that one negative. So if when you were a child, you were insulted and told you were a fuck up or a failure or anything like that, you need to hear 10 times the amount of you are successful. You are, you know, a great accomplisher, whatever it is. So 10 times. So reprogramming the mind through the lens of reparenting. The next thing that became my primary tool for a long time is with the reparenting, is showing yourself the compassion that you never ever got. And this tool I obtained through the teachings of Buddhism. However, I twisted it in my own little way. So I've talked about the prayer, the Ho'oponopono prayer before, which is a Hawaiian prayer that consists of 4 sentences. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, and thank you. And in my own experiences through my life, the one thing that I didn't get very much of was I am sorry. I did not get a lot of apologizing for the times that I was hit, the times that I was laughed at, the times that I was ridiculed, the times that I was insulted and judged or bullied. And in dissecting the Ho'oponopono prayer to what I needed, I'm sorry became one of the primary that I began taking. So I made a recording of myself just saying I'm sorry. Just saying I'm sorry, probably, I don't know, 150 times. And had that on auto repeat. And throughout my awakening, as trauma has come to the surface and as releasing I started just, it was my mantra for the very longest period of time. For 3 years, I would hold myself, because often trauma releases for me come with a lot of heart chakra opening, which is a lot of pain. I worry almost at times that I had MS, because I was always, doing this MS squeeze, trying to hold my chest together and, just gently rocking myself and saying, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. I am so sorry. So what I did in the loneliness, in the despair, in the trauma releases, in the inner child work, in the shadow work, in the depths of hell that are the dark night of the soul, was a lot of like, I am sorry, I am sorry, I am sorry. Like many thousands, tens of thousands of times I have said to myself over the last 3 years, I am so sorry, because it's an energy of like, a parent would hold a child and say to them, I'm sorry that you had that experience. It's simply showing compassion and it's showing care. I am so sorry. I am so sorry. I'm so sorry that happened to you. I am so sorry that happened to you, over and over and over again. And the more I cultivated compassion for self, the more compassion I had for other people. Because when we've never experienced compassion and empathy coming towards us, and empathy has only ever been an externalized thing, you would say to a friend, I'm so sorry that happened to you, that's terrible. And then you'd say to yourself, fuck off, pull yourself together, why are you thinking like that? Get over your anxiety, take this pill, there's something wrong with you, you're dysfunctional, you're disordered. It's not compassionate. So again, to every one negative thing you say to yourself, not just the things that somebody else has said to you, you need to counteract that to the power of 10. So there has been tens of thousands of I am sorry, while I'm sitting in loneliness, while I'm sitting in the worst of the worst, is showing myself compassion over and over and over and over and over again. And this repetition has been huge in pulling me up very, very slowly out of self-loathing and self-hatred into a place of incredible compassion. I have the utmost compassion for myself, for my inner child, for my inner youth, for all of the women that inside of me that have been used and abused and treated like shit and ghosted and all these other energies. And the more you show yourself compassion for things, what also ends up happening as a consequence is you see and you acknowledge. It's the acknowledgement that something was done to you that was like shitty, and that acknowledgement says, I'm not tolerating that anymore. I'm pulling myself away from those energies. I'm not tolerating being yelled at. I'm not tolerating being laughed at. I'm not tolerating the sarcasm and the somebody ribbing you at your expense. I'm not tolerating abuse that looks like reactionary abuse. I'm not tolerating ghosting. I'm not tolerating silent treatment. I'm not tolerating these types of things because I am so sorry that happened. I'm acknowledging the pain and the hurt that came attached with those energies. And I did a video a while back in the narcissistic playlist about all the different types of communications, and there was 2 videos actually, the communication styles that a toxic person will use, as well as all of the strategies that a toxic person uses, the different types of minimizing. And when you have a capacity to label what happened to you without it just being like, I had an icky feeling and I don't know why. Oh, wait a second, they devalued me. Oh, wait a second, they reactionary abused me. Oh, wait a second, that's when you have the words and that's gaslighting and that's manipulation and that's lying. It's much easier for you to go through the process of compassion work, self-compassion work, because you have something definitive to hold on to. Because a lot of what toxic people do is like smoke, and you can't, like, you're like, that felt off. What was that? A passive aggressive jab? Like, oh, are they trying to like have a superiority complex? So learning, so I guess number 3 would be learning what is happening to you through learning vocabulary and getting correct vocabulary for the experiences that you have felt in your life as these emotions flood to your surface. So go back, I'll tag that video at the end of this one. Is learning that, okay, wait, that happened, and I'm so sorry that happened. I can identify what happened, and I can show myself compassion for that happened, because when we can see reality for what it is, and we can identify what it is that happened to us, then we can clearly extricate ourselves out of those types of situations, because first we have to see them. You have to see what's toxic and what doesn't work, not only from others, but if you're participating in it, then there's toxic in you. So I tolerated things I shouldn't have tolerated because, I had these wounds. I had these core wounds at play. And so I have to identify my own core wounds through the mirroring of what I see in others. So if I can see other people going, okay, wait a second, they're gaslighting me. And then part 2 is, hey, wait a second, what is it in me that is not working, that I'm not recognizing being gaslit? What has been shut down in me? What is not fully functioning? Oh, I have a lack of boundaries. Okay, I got to work on boundaries because I believe, I have a core wound that I believe I'm worthless. I need to work on my value because I'm tolerating things I shouldn't. So then it becomes everybody and every experience that you have becomes almost depersonalized, and you see all these experiences, all these negative experiences, as doorbells or opportunities, triggers for you to do some healing work. Why am I reacting to this situation the way that I am? What is it in me that is saying? And then implementing, boundary work. And so boundary work is a huge part of, and learning to say no to things, learning to walk away from things. So I myself tolerated all kinds of abuse. I had 0 boundaries. So self-love is learning boundaries. And so when you're in isolation, it's practicing boundaries, because somebody will come in and they'll be kind of a nice vibe, and you'll be like, oh, this is fun. Maybe I have a new friend. I'll try this for a while. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, wait a second. All they ever do is complain, and I'm not really enjoying this. And who I am now is not going to tolerate those types of energies. So thanks for the lesson. I'm good. I've learned it this time. And then somebody else will come in, and then they'll say some, nasty or mean things to you, and you'll be like, geez, the old me would have tolerated that. The old me would have maybe stayed silent. The old me would have not stood up for myself. The old me would have, compromised my own values. And so it becomes a constant practice of identifying your wounds. It's a way to look at all your wounds, your abandonment wounds, your mommy wounds, your daddy wounds, your traumas, and things like that. And in identifying what's happening inside of you, through these external experiences, you then sit and, I am sorry that happened to you. I am sorry that you were programmed in a way that you had no boundaries. I'm sorry you were never taught how to say no. I'm sorry that you didn't believe that you had value. And within each of these, depending on what one you're working on in particular, of course, there's different tools and strategies to use. So when you're alone and on your own, it's a blessing, even though it feels like shit. It's a blessing because it gives you the time that you've never had in your life to focus all of your attention instead of on other people and busying and making meals for others and taking care of others and negating self, it puts the light right back on you. I'm getting an image of, the Lord of the Rings and the eye, scanning, and then right back on you. And when it's right back on you, every single moment of every single day is this self reflection. It's a lot of work. It's busying time. It's saying, okay, what do I need in this moment? And cultivating a relationship and a conversation with self. What does my body need in this moment? What do emotions need? Oh, anxiety, you need to be heard. Okay, we're going to sit in anxiety, and emotions will start to pass much faster when you start to learn how to have emotions, which is another huge part of this process, is allowing yourself emotions. And I have an entire emotions playlist, and I personally am taking on the establishment to say, fuck you all who think that emotions are some sort of disorder. They're not. And so to every emotion that comes, learning again that critical mind that was putting yourself down, we're not going to use that critical mind to put our emotions down either, and say, okay, we're having anxiety right now. What are some of the tools and techniques I can use to help me transition through anxiety? If I had a friend that came to me and was telling me that they were experiencing anxiety, what is the advice that I would give them? All right, then give that to yourself and keep using that as a marker. What would I say to my best friend? What would I say to my daughter? What would I say to somebody I love if they were in this situation? So it's pulling yourself out of the intensity of it and being in the observer. So you're just over here observing, okay, my physical form is having these experiences right now. What can I do to make my physical form better? My lower back is hurting. Okay, I can go have a hot tub. I can go give myself a massage. I can lie on my trigger balls. I can eat different foods. I can, this. And food is a huge thing because self-love, when we start the process down self-love, I just want to deviate for a second. We realize that we're not very loving to ourselves when we're feeding ourselves poison. So, toxic on the outside as markers. Well, what is the toxic on the inside that we've been doing because we're repressing our emotions and repressing our traumas? Are we using food? Are we using alcohol? Are we using behaviors that are toxic? And then when we go, well, that's not very loving. Would you ever tell your friend, oh, you're having a really horrible day at work. I think you should go do some heroin. Nah. You would never say that to somebody. That's insane. You just wouldn't. Nor would you even say lesser, like, oh, I think you should get drunk and numb yourself out. Or I think you should, smoke a pack of cigarettes. You wouldn't say that to somebody else. So that's not very compassionate. So when you start to practice more and more and more the process of showing self-compassion and asking yourself, is this loving? Is this kind? Is this a nice thing to do? If you're overweight and have diabetes, or let's say your daughter or your son was overweight and had diabetes, would you feed them pizza and a sugary dessert with Coca-Cola? I don't think you would. I was certainly like, no, I gotta look at my behaviors through the lens of self-love and compassion, and those go hand in hand, because self-love means, I deserve to spend the extra money on this protein powder and not buy $30 worth of junk. Compassion means, I'm sure it's okay that you used to do that. You didn't know better, but you know better now, and so we're going to do better. And I'm worth it. I have value, so I'm worth the $30, the $50 protein powder, whatever one you find that you enjoy. That's of more value to you, and showing yourself, kindnesses, is constant. You know, talk about random acts of kindness. People go out in the world and do random acts of kindness. Are you doing random acts of kindness to yourself? That's a question. I want an answer. What's the last random act of kindness you did for yourself? I want to hear. Drop that in the comments. And so it's a practice. It's a practice. It's not something that happens overnight, you know, like, but it happens because I went from being a self-debasing, self-loathing, self-criticizing. I used to call myself a manatee. You know, that's what I'm like. I'm a fat fucking manatee. And I'd laugh at myself then because I had learned that laughing at myself was what everyone else did. So I might as well, you know, get in there first and be the first to punch myself in the face. And so that's not loving or kind. So while we are in this isolation tank that we've been placed in, this cocoon, it's every single day, in every single moment, re-asking ourselves, is this a loving thing to do? Is this a compassionate thing to do? What do I need in this moment? Body, mind, heart, soul. I need to just lie down and cry. I just need to release. And that's okay. It's okay. I'm sorry that those experiences happened to you. I don't cry anymore. I literally cried myself out. And I never thought that was going to happen. Like, you don't understand. Like, when I say I cried every single day, I mean, I cried every single day, multiple times a day for hours at end. And if I had listened to anybody outside, so final point, because this video is getting long, but final point, if I had listened to anybody outside of myself, I would have been told so much shitty information, and I would have gone in circles and not been well. So final announcement is be your own guru. Be your own expert. Be your own parent. Be your own everything, hero of your story, and listen to yourself because your body is trying to communicate with you. Your emotions are trying to communicate with you. And when something doesn't resonate, I don't give a crap how many years they went to university. I really don't. I don't care how many letters they have after their names. The fact of the matter is society as a whole is fucked up. Okay? I called this the Unfuckening Movement because I had followed the advice of all the experts for years. I had gone to the doctors. I had gone to the counselors. 30 years in and out of counseling. All of that did was help me practice telling my traumatic story, and nothing ever came of it. The only counseling that ever made a pronounced, very obvious difference to me was somatic counseling. And I did. Listen, I'm not saying that there's not some useful little glimmers, but, you know, the twin flame journey is awakening on speed. It's accelerated healing. It's no longer spending 30 years in and out of counseling and getting nowhere with maybe a couple of nice tools that you can use through like DBT of like mindfulness practices, which I'd already learned anyway. So the course was a complete waste of time as far as I was concerned. And if I had followed the nutritionist's advice, I'd still be fat. If I followed other people's advice, I wouldn't be where I am today. So I found what works, and I found what doesn't work by doing it the other way. So this accelerated healing means that in all the hours of all the days that you have been given, and listen, you may not like that you've been given them because you're like, hey, I'm not working. Hey, I'm feeling like shit. Hey, this is terrible. But every single one of those minutes and hours, when you switch the focus from something bad is happening to me to this is happening for me and I'm now healing, and this is what healing feels like, and healing feels miserable, and healing feels brutal, and healing feels terrifying at times, but this is what's happening. Because in 3 years' time or 5 years' time, if you look back from when I started to, from the physical. So I really started on the physical with my first few activations without my full awareness. My awakening had already begun. I had already been like doing certain things. And then I had the full-on activation that came with the heart activation and then Kundalini. So if you're going through Kundalini, it's like healing on speed. Within a day, you can be healing multiple things, and it's like, oh my God, now I have this problem, and now I have that problem, and how do I, and it just starts flowing. The more you sit in it, the more you love yourself through it, the more you show yourself the compassion that you never received, the more that you just, I am so sorry that happened to you. The more you will transmute through, and more things will clear, and then you'll go down and you'll go up, and you'll go down and you'll go up, and you'll keep going up and down, and each time you go down you're clearing out more muck to unfuck, and you're like, oh, today we're sitting in my oh, there's somebody in the background. Hopefully you won't hear it, but you'll be clearing out your abandonment wounds. You'll be clearing out. So that's what you do in the isolation, is you practice in every moment of every day. What can I do? And it's going to go against everything. So this will be my final little thing for today's video. It'll go against everything you've ever thought about yourself and everything you've ever done. You're now going to do the opposite. This is a U-turn. Coming back into yourself. So all your thinking is going to be the opposite of the way that you used to think, and all of your behaviors are going to have to start becoming the opposite. If you used to be a drinker, you're going to learn what it is to be a sober person. If you used to be non-active, you're going to learn what it is to be active. If you were active too much, you're going to learn what it is to rest, and to allow yourself to rest without putting yourself down for it. So having the understanding that healing is doing the opposite of what you've ever done before, because what you've ever done before didn't work. They say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again until you get to a place where you're like, okay, wait a second, maybe this isn't working. Maybe I should do the opposite. So do the opposite. Treat yourself the opposite, and behave the opposite than you've ever been before. That is, do you know those finger puzzles that they're Chinese finger puzzles? You put your finger in both ends, and when you pull, you can't get your fingers out because it tightens down on your fingers. So to get out, you have to go in. The Chinese finger puzzle is the healing tool that all of us can use on this journey. And where it's brought me today, where you too can get to, because if I can do it, you can do it, and I'm helping you through it. So there's no reason why you can't. And it's not going to cost you 5 easy payments of $599 or a $5,000 weekend retreat. If you need a little bit of extra help on your journey, it's going to cost you a donation of what you can fairly afford to have a one-on-one with me, and I would love to sit down with you and work through some of your stumbling blocks, or come and join the Spiritual Warriors Support Group meeting, which is today at Wednesday at 5:55, or Sundays at 11:11. That's 5:55 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 11:11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and discuss with some other warriors some of the challenges that you're facing. I'm here because my employer is God. This is my soul's mission, to help as many people out of the suffering that I too have experienced, so that you too can get to where I'm at. And I'm not done. But I can tell you, I'm a lot better off than where I was. Physically, I'm loving on this. Emotionally, I'm loving on this. As I said, I barely cry anymore. I'm cultivating laughter. I'm cultivating safety. I'm cultivating security. I'm cultivating. It's like gardening. What do I want to cultivate today? Okay, I'm going to cultivate this. cultivating self-worth, going to cultivate a little bit more. And the more you go through this process, the more you raise your energetic frequency up through all of the emotions. It's a ladder, okay? So you have to feel the dark, you have to feel the depression, you have to feel the despondency, you have to feel the anxiety, you have to feel the fear, you have to feel it all, and then you come into this place that's kind of like where I'm at right now, which is like neutrality, and then I'll bounce up and I'll have a day that's like giddy, and then I'm back down to fear. So you go up and down as you're going up. So it's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. It's a dance. It's a cosmic dance, and I like dancing. You may have noticed. So yes, I'm cultivating more dance. I'm cultivating more laughter. I'm cultivating the next energies. It's always the next. You know, what do I need to work? It's a process. It's exhausting, but like, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. To all of you out there that are stuck on the twin flame and looking at the twin and going, you know, where are they? What's happened? And this and that. I never thought, I'm just going to add this, I never thought I would get to a place where I just didn't care. I really never thought. I for sure thought, because, you know, I had the luxury of being in their arms once. We had a hug, and you know, it felt like the best thing in the entire universe. It felt like 2 halves of a whole coming together, and like I was like, oh my god, this is the best thing ever. And now I'm like, wait a second, that wasn't the best thing ever. Yeah, that was great, but then this wasn't, and that wasn't, and this wasn't. I'm able to see things as they are, not see things as you know, an idealized version of anything anymore. You know, I see things in balance. I see things in shadow and light, and I go, yeah, that light stuff was awesome, amazing, and so cool, and that dark stuff was yuck and shit. Don't want that. And so that's where we get to this place of being like a self-contained little bundle of like loving on self. And you know, I don't need anybody outside of myself. I certainly don't need anything that's going to be not matching my energetic frequency. So like, if you had asked me 3 years ago, will you ever get to this place? I would have seen that as an impossibility. I really would have. I would have seen myself, this level of detachment, this level of like, I'm good just being me. I don't want to participate in any old paradigms, any age of Pisces routines, any, you know, 3D nonsense. I just don't want any of that. My value has increased exponentially to the point where I'm happy being alone on my own. I love my sense of humor. I crack myself up all the time. It's great. I dance with myself in the kitchen. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not. I love my imperfections. I find them funny and quirky and weird. I love my funny and quirky and weird. But I was not in any of those energies 3 years ago. And 3 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to see that this was at all possible, you know? I've changed so insanely dramatically that all of my hopes, my dreams, my goals are things I never would have imagined. You know, I can see me moving forward. You know, my idols right now are J.K. Rowling, and not because of what she says, but because of what she created, and Louise Hay, and even Martha Stewart. I look at these women and I go, look, they were all older in their lives and they built an empire, and if they can do it, so can I. If you had asked me if I could have done something like that 5 years ago, I would have been like, maybe I can get a job at the corner store, and maybe I can, you know, hope for maybe 1 trip to Mexico per year. Fuck that. No, I deserve way more than that. I'm just beginning. I'm 52 and I haven't even hit my prime yet. Just watch and see where I am in 3 years' time. If I can get from there And go back to one of my first videos. If I can go from there to here in 3 years, where the hell do you think I can get to in the next? Because I know my value and I know my worth now. And I know your value and I know your worth. And you can get there too. It's a one day at a time type of thing, but it's possible. I'm proof. I am proof that it's possible. With that all said, thank you very, very much for all the likes, the shares, the subscriptions, the supers. If you want to book with me, send me off an email to justbebeing@gmail.com. That will be in the description of all my videos, or send me off a message to Be Freedom, or get in touch with me via Telegram. If you would like to join the Spiritual Warrior Support Group, hop over to the Spiritual Warrior Support Group. The link for that is in the description below, and I am sending you all my absolute love, my absolute pride, my absolute compassion, my absolute understanding. I get it. I totally understand where you're coming from, and you are amazing. You really, truly, truly are. Peace in. That's what we're cultivating, always and ever. Peace in. Hum.